Hello, everybody. Well, today it's our itty bitty webinar, and our subject today is going to be traditional heroes and tragic heroes, and maybe what's the difference between them. Now, these are really short snippets of information to working with the story code and the information we've learned from all the research and the study. And one of those really critical points that was found in the research was that there's not just one kind of hero, and that actual hero function is pretty critical with a story. It provides synthesis, a closing, the culminating factor inside of a story. And we can go into a lot of hero and the inciting incident and that with our classes and our courses. You're welcome to join us there or ask questions on our Facebook page. But for the purpose of this webinar today, we're going to talk about that difference between a traditional hero and the tragic hero. Now, what is the difference? All right, you think, oh, I already know, a traditional hero versus a tragic hero. Well, according to Smiley, in his work, he says a hero may not exist for a story's action to be considered complete. And while the research did find that that was true, we found out that without that ending, without that hero moment, there wasn't synthesis for the audience, and it changes the impact and the message of a story. The absence of a hero does that. When we get a traditional hero, that hero is the person that saves the day, not just for themselves, but for everybody within the world of that story. They are really, truly a hero. Some of our traditional heroes, if you know some of these stories, of course, you know, in our little advertisement in the Black Panther, we have the Black Panther. He is a traditional hero. He saves the day for everyone. Of course, in a traditional hero, typically the system will lose. So that is one element where not everybody wins, but that hero saves the day for everybody that is aligned with the positive forces in that story. In Neo, in the Matrix, Neo is our hero for that one. In Indiana Jones, we get Indiana Jones. He is our traditional hero. Even in the little story Babe the Gallant Pig, whether you're looking at the book or the movie, Babe is our traditional hero. Now that dynamic comes with a little extra. There's a 1-2 punch in there, which is possible. Not just a 1-2 punch where first in the book, Fly comes with the key password for all the sheep, and Babe is able to be able to talk to these new sheep and to herd them and win the competition. In the movie, it's Rex that pulls in that win first, gives Babe the things that he needs in order to have that win. So it's a 1-2 punch. There's also the option of having multiple heroes within a story. You can have, you know, a comic hero come in with a traditional hero afterwards. So that traditional hero, though, at that very final moment, we're looking at the end of the story and who saves the day for everyone. The norm breaker wins, the hero wins, we as audience win, and that system loses. Other characters that also bring in that traditional hero element are Po in Kung Fu Panda. In Star Wars, it's Luke pulling off that win. In Iron Man #1, it's Iron Man. In Hoosiers, in To Kill a Mockingbird, The Martian, we get traditional heroes that save the day. On the other side of that, we have our tragic heroes. And these are the ones that they're noble. Usually there's a bit of blindness or a lack of sight that culminates in their tragic loss. And they do lose. They lose their life. They lose usually as the norm breaker, and as the hero, the system wins. So that's a little different from the drama. And we as audience, we're battered, but we also win because we know in a tragedy that certain rules have to be upheld. I always say, like in the story of Oedipus Rex, you can't go killing your father and marrying your mother and not expect to pay the consequences. The system in that story is that, yeah, Oedipus Rex was a norm breaker in that system, and the gods did not agree with, you know, this king. that had murdered his father and married his mother. And Oedipus does take on that mantle, gouges out his eyes, and banishes himself, and he is a tragic hero. Tragic heroes are usually, they either die or are banished or ejected from a fold. And we as audience know that those rules had to be upheld. But because we got to know Oedipus and we felt he was a very noble character, he still has to pay the price for what he did. And those are some of the really fun dynamics when you look at tragedy versus drama. You can actually say, hey, who started the story, who didn't start the story, and it helps us determine the type of hero as well. Let's look at some of those tragic stories where we have a tragic hero. We have, well, of course, Oedipus Rex. We have Charlotte in Charlotte's Web. And fortunately, with this children's story, and with all children's stories that succeed and last through time, they will have a footprint character that carries on the story of that tragic figure. It helps in two ways to have a footprint character. When you have that tragedy, and if that tragic figure dies, like Charlotte, or if the story was told from her point of view, the story would end. Who finishes the story? We bring in another character to just tell that? No, we started with Wilbur telling Charlotte's story, and Wilbur then becomes the footprint character that gives us the end of the story after Charlotte is gone. And his life is forever changed because of her sacrifice for him. That is the footprint character, is that person that their life is forever changed and they carry on the story of that tragic hero. Another one of those footprint characters is Jesse in Bridge to Terabithia. He is carrying on Leslie, the tragic hero. He is carrying on her legacy, and his life is forever changed because of her. We also get tragic heroes in Romeo and Juliet. Two tragic heroes right there. So in The Gladiator, Maximus dies. In Pan's Labyrinth, we lose the young girl. In Hamlet, a dark tragedy, we also have a tragic hero. In A Star is Born, in the 2018, I believe, version, where we have Jack that loses his life. And we've got Allie that is forever changed because of his sacrifice. And we maybe have hope that she's not going to be drugged down by him. So that's a little bit of information on tragic heroes versus traditional heroes. And I wanted to make sure that we mention, what is the common denominator between tragic heroes and traditional heroes? What is it? What makes them the same? They are both self-sacrificing heroes. So that's where we get a really wonderful, that is right kind of feeling at the end of both of these stories, even though we have a completely different dynamic between the two of them, where the hero loses or the hero wins, the system wins or the system loses, but we in both stories get a self-sacrificing hero, whether it's tragic or traditional. Now, we'd love to find out more. If you're watching this later, bring up some comments on our Facebook page or follow us on our YouTube and elsewhere, so that we can answer any of those questions that you may have, and watch for our book that's forthcoming shortly, Lightning in a Bottle, that will explain a lot more of these dynamics in more detail. And enjoy.